life doesn't stop when the workday ends. On True HR Beyond the Office, Shannon Clark Johnston tackles topics that affect our lives in and out of the workplace, with conversations on mental health, reinvention, self-empowerment, and more. We share actionable insights to inspire meaningful growth. Join us for candid insights and guidance to help you build resilience, create balance, and thrive with confidence in all areas of your life.
Many of us work out so our bodies stay strong and we maintain our physical fitness. But what about your mental fitness? Today on True HR Beyond the Office, we're going to talk about mental fitness and why it's essential for strengthening our resilience and navigating life's challenges with confidence. Today's guest, Nikki Gangemi, knows a lot about this topic. She's a master of transformation and has journeyed from actress to teacher to board-certified master NLP practitioner, hypnotherapist, and founder of Mindful Matters, LLC. With her expertise, she empowers high-achieving professionals to break free from self-doubt, helping them become confident communicators and leaders. And through her work, Nikki provides tools that build mental fitness, allowing her clients to approach challenges with strength and clarity. So in this episode, Nikki's going to help us break down the importance of mental fitness and explain why it's crucial to exercise our mind muscles, even when things are going well. So let's get ready to learn how to build resilience from the inside out. Welcome back, Nikki.
Thank you, Shannon. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here again.
It's always fun to have you here. And you always have these, as I've said before, either acronyms or phrases that resonate, at least, for me. And I loved when you mentioned mental fitness. And I don't know that you coined it, but
No,
but
I did not.
talking about it, I love that in contrast to mental health, because I think there's some sort of, and we'll talk about maybe a little bit of a connotation there about like what that means.
Right.
But, we focus so much on the outside, how we look, how we work out, whether it's hair, skin, whatever. But we don't pay enough attention to the inside.
Yeah.
And they sort of interact with one another, right? So,
Mhm.
so I just wanted to first kind of understand how you started focusing on mental fitness versus, let's say, mental health,
Yes.
and kind of what's the difference between the two?
Yeah, absolutely. So how I started to refocus was I noticed I was attracting a lot of people who wanted help with a diagnosis that they received,
Mm.
like anxiety, PTSD,
Mm-hmm.
which is out of my scope and wheelhouse. And because I work with emotions and, negative thoughts and limiting beliefs, it's
Mhm.
easily confused with what a therapist or a psychologist would do. So I was like, how can I communicate this differently? And then I heard about mental fitness. And at the same time, I had made my physical fitness a priority and
Mhm.
started working out regularly at the Max Challenge gym. And I thought, how perfect is this? We work out our bodies and the mind is the same. We
Yeah.
can flex those mental muscles, so to speak, and build new neural connections. So we just naturally start to default to what we want and the positive instead of what we don't want and the lack and negative.
Right. I love that you've paired this, because I know you've shared with me that you do some work sort of with and through the gym,
Yeah.
which sounds like every gym should do this to me. Like you've
Yes,
got
I
this,
agree.
right? every gym should hire Nikki. You've got this audience who's clearly working on themselves in some way, right? Physically.
Yep.
And sometimes different things have brought people to the gym, right? I mean, I know a lot of people use it as, to address anxiety, even if it's just sort of low key
Mhm.
daily stuff you get from life, or people who are trying to reinvent themselves, all kinds of things. So
Right.
tell me about that work that you do and how it complements the people that are just coming to the gym.
Yeah. So with the Max Challenge of Ocean specifically,
Mm-hmm.
I have done some mental fitness boot camps. So the members come, and like many people, you have a good intention to start and you're really motivated in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
But at some point, pretty quickly, the motivation starts to wane, and things in life happen, and then you don't get to class as much. And they also do a nutritional plan with it, and it's like some of the members have struggle sticking to the nutritional plan. Summertime is hard, holidays is hard, weekends. So helping them with motivation, that's one. And also the sustaining, like how can they sustain and be in it for the long game. So I teach them different techniques, like different breathing techniques, the calm method, just different success habits that can help them feel that this is doable. This is something that I can maintain. So it's not just about a 10-week challenge. It's like what's important to me. And for a lot of people, it's being able to keep up with not their kids, but now their grandkids and longevity and being able to be active and healthy. So when we can connect more to their values and what's important to them, that's a real motivator for them to keep going.
Yeah, it's so interesting because if you look around, so I'm just thinking of my own gym that I go to and looking around at all the different people and the different age groups and different levels of fitness. And I feel like if you asked each person what brings them there, you'd have however many different stories, right?
Yeah.
And you mentioned, for example, grandchildren maybe. And I was next to a couple that was older recently. Actually, the last couple Saturdays, they've been next to me at the gym that I go to. And yeah, I've never asked them, but I would imagine, and they were kind of making comments like, not bad for people our age, kind of thing. And I'm guessing that it's probably along those lines. And so people might require different, I guess, focuses of mental fitness, like different approaches. How do people come to you, or how much variation do you see in those reasons like I'm talking about? Is it a wide, or do you see a common theme in what people are looking for?
Yeah, some of the common themes are confidence in themselves and even self-image. There's some people, well, a lot. I could even speak for myself, who maybe there's something you don't like about yourself and you want to improve it. The physical is just one thing, but usually when people come to me, it's a lack of confidence of some kind. They want to be able to have more self-love and compassion because maybe they're a little too hard on themselves, and then to create some healthier habits. And I don't mean healthier as far as diet, but even just healthier mind, like thinking, like what they focus on. Right. Some of those, speaking of the inside, some people can have a poor habit of self-worth. They're just in that habit of loathing themselves, and it doesn't make them feel good about themselves, but they just do it by default. A lot of it is unconscious, and they don't even realize that they're doing it. So even helping them to become conscious of that and then start making those new connections.
Yeah. So would you say, when you think about mental health versus mental fitness, mental health is more, first of all, I guess, administered, so to speak, by a doctor or a therapist, like you were saying, whereas mental fitness is so more fine tuning and more tweaking of like our thoughts, or is that
Yeah, like
accurate?
mental health is more just like your well-being. It's just very static. Like what do I do, to maintain my mental health? The mental fitness is more active. So it's like, oh, what can I do? And again, like you mentioned earlier, it's not about waiting for a challenge to come before we do this. We want to be resilient and strong and be able to handle what comes our way no matter what. So that consistency is a big part of it.
Yeah.
So whether it's meditating for a couple of minutes a day, or doing some breathing techniques, or visualizing, there's like different exercises that you can do that help you to maintain your focus on what you want, and becoming aware of some of those unresourceful thoughts, those negative thoughts that really don't help you, to feel better. And it's like, okay, how can I start to reframe that and like level up those thoughts?
Right. Well, and I think it's a good point about being consistent. It's just like your physical fitness. You don't walk into the gym and just get physically fit after one session.
Right.
Oh, I wish that were true.
Wouldn't that be
That'd be
nice?
so nice. But you really have to keep the mind muscle, moving and keep it fit.
Yeah.
So what are some of those techniques? You mentioned a few. So why don't you walk through some of the more common ones that you use and that you think are more easily adaptable?
Easily. Well, we'll start with breathing because we're doing that anyway.
I think.
Hopefully all day,
Yeah.
every day. But this is more of just, stopping what you're doing. It's like putting down the phone, turn off the TV, and just go inside. Like close your eyes and just, you could breathe in through your nose, and you can take a nice long exhale out of your mouth. something I used to say when I taught elementary school, smell the flowers and blow out the birthday candles
Aw,
to help
I
them
love that.
to remember to breathe in through the
Smell the
nose and
flowers, blow out the birthday
out,
candles.
yeah, and blow out the
Okay.
birthday candles. You could even pretend that you're blowing up a balloon, which I did recently for my nephew's 3rd birthday and learned I'm not very good at
They're
blowing up
hard.
balloons. It's hard.
Like an old
Yeah.
school balloon is very
You
hard.
really have
Yes.
to blow, and it
Yeah.
wasn't really working for me. So
Gotta get more physically fit there.
more physically fit. I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I'm in great shape. I'm healthy. Why can't I blow up a balloon?
Good.
But yeah, just more
So
of
breathing.
that purposeful, intentional breaths.
Okay. And so being
that
quiet while you
being-
do that,
and
obviously.
being quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah, really just kind of it relaxes your nervous system.
Yeah.
It calms you down and it gives you a little bit of space.
It's like almost instantaneous. I find if you're
Instantaneous,
quiet and if you just really pay attention, do it for 5 minutes, it's like
Yeah.
totally turns it around.
Even if you only have time to take 3 breaths.
Mm-hmm.
It just makes such a difference. You'll notice that your shoulders drop
Yep.
like a 1/4 of an inch, and you just feel like your mind's settled
Yeah.
just a little bit. It's a little quieter
Yeah.
in there.
Well, it's so fast paced these days.
Yeah.
Everything, whether it's social media or just the expectation, like just having a conversation on another episode about, you don't get any snow days anymore.
Mm-hmm.
We're connected all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone's texting you this and that, and so taking a breath with quiet. Where's quiet anymore, other than when you're sleeping? It feels like
Or if you live alone.
I mean, live alone, but even then, I've got 2 dogs.
Right,
So
right.
breathing, it's sounds like basic, but it's really hard, I think, for a lot of people to get to sometimes.
The shower can be a quiet place where you just hear the water.
Not if you're my son,
Oh,
because he's got YouTube on his phone. All the kids, I think, these days, yeah,
wow.
they
Listen to
keep it.
YouTube while in the shower?
Yes, and I know he's not alone
Ah.
because I've talked to other moms about it. That it's constant, and a lot of them also have the AirPods in most of the time as
Mm.
well. So, which I've said a million times, like,
In the
"Guys, don't you just
shower?
want to?" Yeah. Well, the AirPods they don't have in the shower.
Oh.
That's when the phone goes on speaker. But the rest of the time, the AirPods
Wow.
are in a
Yeah.
good portion of the time. And I'm always like, "Wow, don't you just want to hear your own thoughts
Right.
sometimes?" So I think
Yeah.
we'll see how all that shakes out for the kids in that generation. But even for me, and I don't do that. I think it's just hard to find some downtime, quiet time.
I think it's got to be intentional.
Yeah.
Yeah, to just, put the phone down or put it in
Yep.
another room. And that speaking of mental fitness goes along with the physical fitness part of what you put into
Yeah.
your mouth, right? Like what you are consuming. So on the mental fitness side, it's how much social media are you consuming? How
Mhm.
much TV or news are you consuming?
Mm-hmm.
And then making those choices of, having these segments of the day where it's like, I'm not going to scroll on
Right.
social media, or I'm not going to watch the news.
Right. It's hard. It's hard. I recently found myself just like more on my phone more, and I just kind of
Mhm.
felt like, not out of nowhere, but I just sort of realized it. Wow, I know this is an increase for me, and so now I'm trying to not pick it up until I'm done with my coffee in the morning. That's like
yeah.
the first start. I'm
Yeah,
going to
that's
try.
a great start.
Yeah, but it's even that I'm like, oh, I just want to see what happened with such and such, or whatever it is.
Right.
Could be something silly, or want to see if someone texted me back from the night before. But
Mhm.
it's very hard, and you have to be extremely intentional about it, as I know you know.
Right. Yeah, you've got to be intentional about it. And it's just making that commitment to yourself.
Yes,
Like
yes.
I have a morning, I won't call it a routine but it's just more like, I wake up, I go downstairs, I turn on the Keurig, and then I sit down and open up the meditation app, and I do like a 15-minute meditation.
Nice.
I don't open up any other text or social media
Right.
until that. I want that first before I let the world in.
Maybe I'll try that. You do
Yeah.
15 minutes. Like,
15
you could even do 5. I
You
would
could do
imagine
5.
you could do whatever.
Yeah. You could
Start
do
small.
5, 10, however much you want.
Yeah.
There's so many different meditations on that's the Insight Timer app. You could just choose.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. So finding the breath, taking a minute. You mentioned visualization, which I'm very much interested in, because I think this is a very sort of positive focused technique. So why don't you explain
Mhm.
exactly what people can do for visualization?
So for visualization, what you can do is you could think about something that you want. to have happen. It could be a goal. It could be something you want to attract. It could be a vacation that you want to go on. And you can go there in your mind. Right. So you can just start to, what do I see? And before we were talking about one of the places I'd like to go to is Santorini, Greece.
Yeah.
I just think it's so beautiful. And what I did was in Canva, I made a vision board and I took a picture of Greece with, I don't know what that famous building is. With
I don't know, but I know what you're talking about.
Blue round dome roof. And I photoshopped myself in the picture. So it looks like I'm sitting there and I was there. And
Love that.
and I made it part of my screensaver. It's the screensaver on my laptop. So every morning when I open it up, I see my 2025 vision board and it makes it easier for me to see myself in it. So it's like, what do you see? What are the colors? What do you hear? What are the sounds that are there? Right. And you can almost imagine yourself there. And the mind doesn't know the difference between real and imagined.
Right. Right. Well, I've been, I think I just mentioned, I've been reading, and the name escapes me right now, but a lot about visualization and exactly what you just said, how the mind doesn't know the difference and that you can really put yourself in that state. And then a lot of athletes use it, right, to visualize success. Yeah. But you can do it for anything. And then having that reinforcement of the picture, I'm gonna do that. I think that's a great idea to sort of put yourself, just like make it so.
That
and then
you're there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I photoshopped myself on a beach with a handsome man. So it looks like we're running on the beach together.
I love it. You could do anything.
Anything. Yeah. So that you could see it. It just makes it easier to see it. And you could even visualize how you want a conversation to go with someone. It's partly setting an intention, and then it's mentally rehearsing it in your mind. How do you want to show up? You could imagine what tone you would use, how the conversation would go, what you would say, what you would feel.
Yeah. So for visualizing, let's say a broader plan, like let's say somebody wants to become a famous, I don't know, talk show host. So that's going to take some time, even if they end up being successful, right? So what should they be doing in terms of keeping that fitness? Should they write a letter and read it over and over, do the picture, do daily meditations, all of that? Like, what would you recommend for someone? Where should they start if they have like a longer term kind of dream?
They could start by writing it down on paper. There's a real power to that. And some people say that if it's not written down, it doesn't happen.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I mean, for me in my life in general, I'm a list person. So I have to write it down.
Yeah, I'm the old fashioned, pen and paper.
Same.
I'll write out a couple of things I want to get done for the day. I like to check it off. Just feels this sense of accomplishment. Yeah, but you could start there. You could write it out on paper and use the language, because our subconscious mind, which is our goal getter, we make the goal with our conscious mind. Subconscious mind is like, oh, that's the directive you're giving me. Okay, I'm going to go get that. It thinks in picture, sounds, and feelings, not in words. So when you write out your goal that you have, like to be that talk show host, what do you see? And write all of that out.
Get very
detailed. Yeah. I see myself sitting in, this black leather chair and I see the cameraman over to my left. What do you hear and what do you feel? And even what do you say? What are you saying to yourself? And just paint this vivid picture and make it super compelling in your mind. Turn up the imaginary dials on the colors, the vivid colors, the brightness, and just make it feel really real.
And since we're talking about fitness, I imagine, and that consistency, this is something you want to do regularly. Is that right?
Yes, consistency. You want to do this regularly. Not like what we did in school where physical fitness was 2 times a week.
Well, and then it was like this pressure-filled, on the spot, anxiety-producing, like the physical fitness tests and things is what comes to mind for me. But it wasn't every day, and it wasn't even every like semester or every period in school or like time frame. Okay, so we want to do it every day.
Do it every day, and if that sounds overwhelming, this is not something you've got to carve out 10 minutes for. Even. You could do it before you get out of bed in the morning. You could visualize how you want your day to go. For the most part, what you have on the plans for that day. And you could just kind of take a little walk through your day of how you would like it to go, how you intend it to go.
Yeah.
See what you see, hear what you hear, feel what you feel, and then get out of bed. You could do that in 2 minutes.
I've read that when you're visualizing, you should not sort of visualize or narrate what you don't want. Like, I don't want this to happen and I don't want that to happen. You should focus on only like the
What you
visual
do
of what you want.
want.
Is that accurate?
That's what I do. I know for athletes specifically that they'll visualize mistakes and errors so that they can practice what they would do
in response
in
to
response
something.
to
Okay.
that.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can do that. I don't, just because if I'm visualizing something that I want to happen in my business, for example, or in the area of love life,
Right.
I'll just visualize what I do want.
The positives.
The positive.
Yeah.
But if it's something like a craft that you're honing,
Mhm.
or a musical instrument, you could visualize, maybe a mistake or
Mhm.
something, or an outcome that you weren't anticipating. So
And
you
how you
can
handled it.
rehearse how you would handle it. So
Right.
if that were to happen, you feel more prepared. It feels
Yes.
familiar, like, oh, I've experienced this before in my mind, but it doesn't know the difference, right? And it's like, okay, now I can stay relaxed. And it's like, okay, now I know what I'm going to do. I have a plan for that.
That reminds me of some advice, and I'm part of a speaking group that we walked through. Okay, you have a speaking gig. Just write down everything that could go wrong. Like, do it now.
Yeah.
Do it now. And we all started participating in it. This happened to me, and that happened to me, and this happened to me. I mean, I had my very first presentation, and the button broke off of my suit. I had nothing underneath it. It was just like a blazer type thing, and I was about to go speak, and oh my God, the anxiety that produced. I never went anywhere again without a safety pin. But anyway, and that can bring peace to your mind once you've thought through all the things that could go wrong. But you might not do it in a visualization, but you're at least running through it so then you can sort of make some peace with, okay, I've thought about all these and I have solutions for each one.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, you have some kind of a plan in place that you could do.
Right.
And you've experienced it, quote unquote, in your mind. So now it's not going to be so unknown and unfamiliar that you go into that fight or flight.
Right.
It's like, okay, I've experienced this before. I know what I can do.
Yep.
And then you're more resourceful.
So we've got the breathing. We've got the visualization. Anything else?
Meditation.
Tell me about meditation.
You can use a meditation app, like I mentioned, the Insight Timer. There are different ones that you can use. There's different types of meditation. There's guided meditation where you can listen to the person guide you through.
Yeah. I like those because it feels like less
too.
stressful for me. Like I don't have to, I'm just listening to what they're telling me to do.
Exactly.
What they're telling me to focus on.
Yep.
Is there a difference in what you get out of the guided versus doing it yourself? In your opinion?
The only thing I've noticed is, sometimes I'll just do my own meditation. Then it's just very specific and customized to myself. I'll just pick maybe, one positive affirmation and I'll just repeat that to myself over and over again. And that's very much like a transcendental meditation where it's like a word or a phrase and it's just on repeat over and over again. With that, I find that boredom can come into play. And your mind might go elsewhere, but that in and of itself can be a meditation where it's just, I noticed my mind wandered.
Yes.
And then you bring it back.
Yeah, I felt that when I started to try yoga, and this has gone back a while now, I would get really stressed out because the instructor kept saying like empty your mind or whatever she was saying. And I can't. And I would just keep focusing on the fact that I couldn't do what she was asking.
Right.
And then finally I just let myself think whatever I wanted to think. And eventually I got there because the stress of not following directions for me was just too much. And I couldn't, it was hard to go from like never doing anything like this to just emptying your mind. I mean,
right. It's
a really hard thing to do.
Our mind is usually not empty.
Right.
So with meditation, it's more of just a noticing, noticing. And you could label it like, oh, worrying, projecting, judging.
Right. So you're noticing what you're thinking.
You're just noticing what you're thinking. And then it's like bringing yourself back either to your breath or bringing yourself back to an affirmation or a mantra. The guided meditation is easier for me personally just because I'm following the guidance of the voice. And there's usually a lot of imagery. you
Yeah.
know?
I feel that might be good for people that are new to it too. It just
Yeah.
seems a little less stressful. Maybe that's why I like it. How
Yeah.
long is there, I've read different things about meditation and that, certain times of day you should do it, how long you should do it for. Do you have any sort of opinions on that or suggestions?
Yeah. So it's been said that first thing in the morning and before bed are two good times to get quiet and meditate and take a
Mm-hmm.
couple of deep breaths. Your mind is when you wake up in the morning, you're going between a sleep state and an awake state. So your
Mm-hmm.
mind is most susceptible to suggestion.
Oh, really? Okay.
So, yeah, that's a good time to just maybe repeat that positive affirmation or maybe that thing, that thought that you want to make a habit.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's I am wealthy or I am successful,
Right. Whatever your
that
phrase
is,
is.
whatever your phrase is.
Yeah.
And to say that upon waking a few times in your mind.
Okay.
And yeah, so morning and then when you go to bed at night, that's another good time. And you could even meditate throughout the day. And I want to say that meditation is also through movement. You could go for a walk outside
Mm-hmm.
and just focus on what do I see, hear, smell, taste, touch. Just go through
Yeah.
your five senses and
Yeah.
just be really present in the moment. And that's considered a meditation, a walking meditation.
Yeah. So, in these techniques, we've got breathing visualization and meditation, and these are for sort of things to just, as we're talking, keep things up, keep things fit, keep things on course, if you will. When someone, gets hit with a curveball, in their life, even if they've been doing these things, right? Like it can be difficult. So I don't know if you have a particular recommendation, like if someone's, has a death in their family or something that, these things become really difficult for them to do. Is there something that they can sit with or focus on or think about until they can get maybe back to their regimen of mental fitness?
Yeah, I mean, and I actually am experiencing that right now. My grandmother is sick and, she's not doing well. And I was on the phone last night with my mom and, things come up and it gets sad.
Yeah.
And I felt a little drained after the conversation. And it's like, okay, it was late. It was like 10:30 at night. I wanted to be in bed. So I was like, okay, what can I do to just get a break from this? And I'm like, oh, I'm going to turn on an episode, like a comedy.
Right.
And like, that's what I chose
That's
to
what you
do. And
needed.
before you know it, I was laughing. And I was just like, okay, that gave me a little bit of mental space. But something like even, depending on the time of day, you can go out for a walk. You can turn on some of your favorite music. And that can change your state. You could take a shower and you could imagine that the water coming down is this cleansing, healing water and it's washing away any of the negative.
Showers do work. It's funny you're
Yeah.
saying this 'cause I always used to say that to my son when he was little or like his bath or whatever. If he was having a cranky, day after school or something, I would say, why don't you just go take a shower or take a bath? It's going to change. You'll shift out of this mood. And it
Yeah.
always works. And
Mhm.
I feel the same way now as an adult from myself that I don't know why that is. Maybe it is the cleansing power of
There's
the water.
something about the water. Yeah. Something
Yeah.
about the water and
Washing off the bad day or the bad vibes
and
or
I'll
whatever it is.
imagine that and
Yeah.
just kind of washing away any negative and
Yeah, I
it's
love that.
just, so there's a couple of things you could do. And a great one mantra I like to use or affirmation is I give myself some space and grace. And
I
just
like that.
saying that. So with the conflict or something difficult that, it's like, yeah, we're human and it's okay to feel. So yeah, we might be sad about something. And I give myself that space and grace and taking a couple of breaths.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, okay. And it's like, either what can I do? Like, what's something that I can do to help? And
Yeah.
sometimes it might just be we've got to do something, some self-care for us, whether that's watching a show that's going to get you to laugh
Right.
or going
Or
for a
whatever.
walk or, just listening to an upbeat podcast. It's
Right.
like, it's really about moving your attention.
Shifting the attention.
Shifting the attention.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I think it's important to like mix it up a little bit when you're feeling that way. And I think you're right. You mentioned the term self-compassion before. I feel like a lot of the anxiety sometimes, at least for me, comes from feeling, oh, this isn't how I should be feeling. I should be feeling some other way. And I know you're
Right.
saying about should. If you'd like to repeat the should,
Stop shooting on yourself.
stop shitting on yourself. But because it really does, it almost makes you feel worse about whatever the thing is you're feeling worse about to begin with. So you're feeling bad about something, then you're like, oh, this really shouldn't be bothering me this much. I should get over this. I should move on. And then that creates a whole other level, right?
Another level of pressure.
Right.
Yeah.
So that self-compassion is important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I don't think we talk about that enough.
No, we don't. But we are now, and
Yeah.
that kind of brings it to people's awareness, and even that it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we're a little too hard on ourselves,
Yeah.
and that might have been a little bit learned.
You think? Yeah, we have high standards for ourselves, and then
High
it's when things
standards.
don't go according to plan, which it's life, and they don't
Mhm.
always go according to plan. We're very hard on ourselves. And
Yeah,
so,
that's another thing you could do is you could say to yourself what you would to a child,
yes,
and
yes,
kind of talk to yourself in that way, and that's one way you could be more loving and compassionate towards yourself. If you
Yeah.
wouldn't say it to a 5-year-old, don't say it to yourself.
yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. I've said some terrible things to myself in my own, that
Mhm.
I would never say
Never
to somebody
say,
else.
right?
Yeah, so very good reminders. I love this concept, Nikki, as always. And just if you could leave the listeners maybe with maybe one or two tidbits. I know you've shared a few already
Mhm.
on how they can kind of build their mental fitness or get into a regimen of building their own mental fitness.
Yeah. So one thing I'll share that I don't believe I shared so far is you can become more aware of the thoughts that you have and the way you talk to yourself, for
Mhm.
example, and you can just have some grace. And it's like, oh, I notice that I'm being hard on myself.
Mhm.
And then just reframing that,
Okay.
just changing it to what you can say instead, even if it's, I give myself the space and
I like
grace.
that. That's easy to remember too.
And it rhymes.
You have all these
Yeah.
good things. Well, and then I guess you could also Photoshop yourself into something of wherever you'd like to be.
That's
I mean, the
right.
vision board is actually a
That's right.
great
Mhm.
reminder. I know people have probably heard of vision boards before, where you just create these, boards of images of how you'd like your life to be in different areas,
Yeah,
right? So
right.
that's a fun activity.
It's
I
fun.
find.
And I've done it the old fashioned way of
Yes,
cutting
me
out from a magazine and
I still have
gluing it onto like an oak tag.
Yes, they buy it Staples and go
Yeah.
and get yes.
I've
yeah.
done it that
Well,
way.
that was when people had magazines too.
Right,
Really
right.
not that many anymore.
Exactly. And then it's like, okay, now I have this great tool, Canva,
Yeah,
and it's just so much easier.
I love that.
And then the part of like putting yourself in the picture.
That's the
been
key.
a game changer for me. So I could see it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's definitely the key. I mean, I've done them on Pinterest before. I haven't thought to do,
Mhm.
and I know exactly what you're talking about because there is a way on Canva. This is not a commercial for Canva, but it's a great application. But you just sort of take the actual
background.
outline, you take the background out of your picture, and you can
Mhm.
just pop yourself in anywhere
And
you
pop
want.
yourself in there.
But that can be
Yeah.
inspirational and fun, and
It was very
yeah.
fun. I did it last weekend, actually.
I love it.
And then I made it my screensaver on my desktop. And now I see it every day. And I'm like, oh, look at this. I love this life that I've created.
Yeah, look at me. And I guess as long as you don't start telling people that that's actually happened, you're probably in a safe space.
That's right. That's right.
that was
We're
what I
only
would
telling
say.
some of the world right now.
Well, this is great. As always, you just give such great tips for us to kind of live our better mentally healthy lives. So thanks for joining us again. And that's going to wrap it up. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to True HR Beyond the Office. We hope today's episode inspired new ways for you to find fulfillment and purpose in your personal and professional life. If you found value in our conversation, let's keep it going. Follow us on social media and visit us at ShannonClarkJohnston.com to explore free tools, resources, and more about our speaking, coaching, and consulting services.